Though they claim to be the faithful and discreet slave appointed by Jesus to help all Christians to arrive at the correct understanding of the Bible, the governing body admits that they are not inspired by God.
In the first century, the governing body was not only led by the Spirit, but in matters of doctrine, even inspired. Today, it's not inspired, but still led by the Spirit.
Instead, they claim to be just imperfect men trying to follow the lead of the Holy Spirit.
We are just imperfect men trying to follow the lead of Christ and the Holy Spirit.
But just what does it mean to be led by the Spirit? What is the difference between being inspired by the Holy Spirit and being led by it? Is there any divine intervention at all, helping them to arrive at their understanding of the Scriptures? According to former governing body member Anthony Morris, the direction they provide does not come from mere man.
That is where the direction and wisdom of the organization comes from, not from mere man.
So it sounds like they are claiming that they are somehow influenced by a divine source. But this raises a very important question. If the governing body is influenced by God's Holy Spirit, what accounts for the errors in doctrinal understanding and organizational direction? Are they saying that God's Holy Spirit is capable of making mistakes? When they get it wrong, is that because God or Jesus gave them the wrong information? Jesus did tell his disciples that he would send the Holy Spirit to them and that it would guide them into all the truth. When the Helper comes, that I will send you from the Father, the Spirit of the truth, which comes from the Father, that one will bear witness about me. John 15. However, when that one comes, the Spirit of the truth, he will guide you into all the truth, for he will not speak of his own initiative, but what he hears he will speak, and he will declare to you the things to come. John 16:13. Note how this is explained in the book, Insight on the Scriptures, the Spirit of the Truth. The Spirit that proceeds from Jehovah God is pure and holy. It is the Spirit of the truth. Jesus Christ told his disciples, I have many things yet to say to you, but you are not able to bear them at present. However, when that one arrives, the Spirit of the truth, he will guide you into all the truth. For he will not speak of his own impulse, but what things he hears he will speak, and he will declare to you the things coming. God's Spirit would teach them everything they needed to know to carry out their work, recalling and opening up to their understanding things they had previously heard from Jesus, but had not understood. God's Spirit would also declare to them the things coming. This could include bringing to light the significance of Jesus' death and resurrection, as these events were then yet future and were among the things that his disciples did not understand. Of course, God's Spirit later also enabled Christ's followers to foretell future happenings. Being the Spirit of the truth, God's Holy Spirit could never be the source of error, but would protect Christ's followers from doctrinal falsehoods. Insight on the Scriptures, Volume 2, pages 1131 to 1132. Well then, since God's Holy Spirit is incapable of making errors, was the Spirit trying to lead the governing body in a certain direction, but they were unable to detect it? That doesn't seem likely either. Why not? Well, notice in the quotation from the Insight book, it was said that the Holy Spirit would protect Christ's followers from doctrinal falsehoods. How could it be possible, then, for the Holy Spirit to have any involvement with the errors put forth by the governing body? The Watchtower Society speaks of another activity of the Holy Spirit. They claim that certain ones among them are specially anointed to become rulers alongside Christ in heaven. Notice how Stephen Lett explains that God's communication to the anointed is an absolute certainty.
Think about it. The Holy Spirit is the most powerful force in the universe. Jehovah used it to create the sun, moon, stars. He used it to create all life in heaven and earth. He also used it to communicate his message to the Bible writers. In fact, Jehovah is the greatest communicator in the universe. So if his powerful Holy Spirit bears witness with a person, he is not going to communicate, maybe you have been called to heavenly life, leaving the person in doubt, a dilemma, a quandary. No, it is going to be an absolute affirmative communication, leaving the person with no question in his mind or heart. So if a person is wondering if he is anointed or not, the answer is obvious, isn't it? He is not.
So how could it be possible for God, the greatest communicator in the universe, to use the Holy Spirit, the most powerful force in the universe, to lead, guide, or direct the governing body in such a way that they are able to miss the point? Just imagine a wide receiver on a football team. The best quarterback in the world throws the perfect pass, but he drops the ball. Can anyone in their right mind blame the quarterback? So instead of God being wrong, something must be wrong with the governing body's claim of being guided by God. Actually, they did come very close to admitting that they gave direction to God's people prior to being led by the Holy Spirit. Note this illustration in the book God's Kingdom Rules.
As we saw in Chapter 2 of this book, the Bible students spent decades pointing out that the year 1914 would be significant in fulfilling Bible prophecy. However, at that time they believed that Christ's presence had begun in 1874, that he had begun to rule in heaven in 1878, and that the kingdom would not be fully set up until October 1914. The harvest would extend from 1874 to 1914 and would culminate in the gathering of the anointed to heaven. Do mistaken ideas such as these cast doubt on whether Jesus was guiding those faithful ones by means of Holy Spirit? Not at all. Think again of our opening illustration. Would the premature ideas and eager questions of the tourists cast doubt on the reliability of their guide? Hardly. Similarly, although God's people sometimes try to work out details of Jehovah's purpose before it is time for the Holy Spirit to guide them to such truths, it is clear that Jesus is leading them. Thus, faithful ones prove willing to be corrected and humbly adjust their views.
Now I want you to think about this carefully. When the book asks the question, do mistaken ideas such as these cast doubt on whether Jesus was guiding those faithful ones by means of Holy Spirit? Do you think no is the correct answer? If so, then how do you harmonize that with the statement in the following paragraph that says God's people sometimes try to work out details of Jehovah's purpose before it is time for the Holy Spirit to guide them to such truths? How is it possible for someone that tries to work out details of Jehovah's purpose before it is time for the Holy Spirit to guide them, claim to be guided by Holy Spirit? Something is seriously wrong here. It should be obvious that rather than being guided by the Holy Spirit, the governing body has, for over 100 years, been presumptuously running ahead of Jehovah. It is their own presumptuousness that is responsible for the errors they make. Not Jesus, not God, not His Holy Spirit. Yet, in an effort to give the appearance that they are guided by God, in order to keep witnesses loyally trusting them completely, instead of focusing on when they get it wrong, they want witnesses to focus on what they call adjustments or clarification when they claim to get it right. They are even clever enough to create excitement among witnesses for the next annual meeting where adjustments or new light are revealed. Instead of seeing the adjustments for what they truly are, corrected errors, giving further proof that they have not, in the past, been guided by God, they are mentally conditioned to see the adjustment as light coming from God. And amazingly, it does not even occur to witnesses that the current adjustment may itself one day be adjusted and end up on the trash heap of failed interpretations.
In recent years, the annual meeting has been an occasion where clarified understanding of Bible truths, a new light, has been announced and explained. Of course, it's not at every annual meeting that this takes place, but when Jehovah makes something known, often it's at the annual meeting where it is announced. Now, will there be new light today? I think Brother Cook already spilled the beans a bit. But we look forward to see what will be what is in store for our program. The governing body is neither inspired nor infallible, and so it can err in doctrinal matters or in organizational direction. The brothers do the best they can with what they have and what they understand at the time, but are happy if Jehovah sees fit to clarify matters, and then that can be shared with the brotherhood. And when that happens, we understand it's because it's Jehovah's time for that to happen, and we eagerly accept that.